Oh, got
Is
it.
it still set?
Yes.
Okay. I can always edit it later, so.
Put it a little higher.
Nope, that's good.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Meredith Barnett. I'm one of the business development managers for SuperScapes.
And I'm Trey Cook. I'm one of the business development managers as well. Before that, with SuperScapes, I was on the commercial installation side doing the project management superintendent work, running crews on our commercial install side. And now I've come over to the business development team. And it's been great so far, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so we kind of wanted to explain to you guys. We won't take too much of your time. We know you guys are really busy, and I don't like hearing people talk for more than a certain amount of time. But I handed to you guys in your bags a brochure that she's looking at right now, and we're just going to go over for a little bit of what SuperScapes does, what we oversee, what we maintain, what we can do for you, and what we stand for. So a little bit about SuperScapes. We are the official landscape company of the Dallas Cowboys, which is why you see this pretty little star on everything that we have. We oversee residential as well as commercial. So we oversee maintenance, irrigation, new installation, construction, as well as new designs. Unfortunately, our designer Dustin, he was not able to make it today. But we are going to go over a little bit of things that he normally would go over. Unfortunately, we don't have he always brings the PowerPoint when he comes in. What he always talks about is what plants that can't be planted anymore, that everybody used to plant all the time, or what you see now. That also has to do with the freeze that goes on, and we see a lot of these things. A lot of people will call us, and including maintenance, they want to clean up and all dead things gone. And and I can send that to you guys later as well. So that we all kind of are like, okay, we can kind of understand why we can't plant certain things. Okay. SuperScapes has been around for 23 plus years. We are a growing company at the moment. So like I said, we oversee residential and commercial. So we are anywhere from mid to high range. We are in sales. I want to be honest with you guys, but you are going to get for what you pay for. We oversee, I would say, around over 400, 350 properties.
I think we're about to touch 400.
About to touch 400 property, and that's with commercial as well as residential. A few big residential properties. We do Stonebriar, Star Trail.
We do Gates of Prosper, the Stonebriar HOA, the Weston Stonebriar Hotel, just bigger things like that. We do the Star, obviously, in
Craig
Cowboy
Ranch.
Stadium. Yeah, Craig Ranch.
So where we do, was it Brian Nelson? Is that what's over
Yeah,
that
yeah,
So it's over there. So we do all of that as well.
Biggest headache of the year, whatever Byron Nelson.
So y'all should be familiar with some of our work. So like what he said, the Star in the AT&T Stadium. So we like to be something that I take a lot of pride and treasure in when working as business development manager is to trust and verify and to be honest with my clients. I want to create that trustworthy what's the word I'm looking for, connection with you guys, as well as to be honest with y'all as well. A little bit about my background is I used to be a property manager, and I did that for 5.5 years. And I was on the residential side, so I understand what y'all go through by talking to developers as well as board members. So I want to make sure that I can help you guys figure out what the board wants. And something that we also enjoy doing as well is we are okay with going to board or annual meetings. I just went to one last week, and I was there till 9 o'clock at night. I don't care how long I'm there, as long as I can get the message across to everybody that's in the room, because I know that can be a headache for y'all when it's on the agenda, and we can go into more detail with that as well. And we can answer everybody's questions, and it just kind of goes a little bit more smoother. And they can always say, well, what are we paying for here, and when is this going to get done? And something that our director for our account managers, his name's Blake. So sometimes, depending on how big the property is, we can actually give you guys a yearly plan. So in that way, if y'all have a huge property and you're saying, okay, because you don't want to sometimes drop all the money all at once. We want to make sure you're spending your money wisely. So we can make a year plan for you guys, so then that way when board meetings come along, you're talking to a developer, yes, this is what we're focusing on now, but by the end of the year, this is what's going to get done. So in that way, the homeowners or developers are saying, why isn't this done yet? Well, it's we have it in the plan, we have it in the books. Something that SuperScapes is very well known for is their communication skills. Something that me and Trey get all the time is thank you for getting to us quickly, thank you for responding to us. Something that I really, really needed into my vendors when I was a property manager is I don't like babysitting you. That is not my job. That is not your job. I want you to come to me with the problems that you see that are out there. And that's what our account managers are for. we're, like I said, we're growing so rapidly. I'm seeing new account managers like crazy in our office all familiar faces. How we provide you an account manager is by their skill set. Not just, oh, we got another property, let's just go and send this person there. Depending on how big or small the property is and what's out there, we like to divide all of our account managers by their skill sets. And so that's how we that way it's a better connection with you guys, a better connection with us, and what's the right fit. Again, that trust and honesty is really important to us.
Basically, I agree with all of that, but outside of the things that her and I do, things like that, our account managers are what really make this work, and our labor. We have a great labor force that we have a great H2B communication, and that's how we've gotten our guys. We've been coming back 10, 15 plus years. We have an incredible irrigation technicians. I think we have 7 in-house. It's all headed by Jason Cook. He's been doing it for longer than I've been alive. So, and, but it's those guys that make everything run so smoothly. We can be as quick as we want to, but as soon as we get boots on the ground, it makes our job so much easier to sell what these guys can do. And that's the God's honest truth there. Those guys are incredible. And coming from the commercial install side, and then, which was great over there, we have great guys there, but whenever I came over to the maintenance side, I was like, this is how this needs to operate. This is a perfect example of everything. Blake does an incredible job. Our account manager does an incredible job. Our labor guys are second to none. And I think that it makes it easy to sell our product with those guys.
Because our goal for every year is to have a retention rate of 98%, and we've done that for the past 7 years. Then a lot of people ask us whatever happened in the last 2%. We're normally a little bit too high for them, which is okay. Well, I understand that happens. We're not going to always get everything, but sometimes people take the lowest bidder, and then they'll come back and say, well, now we got to spend more money than we actually were planning to, because now everything's messed up. So, and I know y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. Board members say, well, this is only
Never
one.
had someone says, find somebody to do a better job for less money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That
Exactly.
exists.
And we
I
are
tried having that conversation and
exactly. And so we are a one-stop shop. So that brochure that you guys are looking at, you can kind of see we take care of everything. You don't have to call another person to do this. Especially for arborists, we do have those as well that we work with. So if we get a lot of those questions. If we can come take a look at trees or do anything like this, we can do that.
will you do it outside of a contract? Like, as an example, I'm thinking of, we got property in Fort Worth. They have, the street is lined with live oaks on both sides.
Okay.
It is a gorgeous drive-through. But obviously there's no grass or stuff, but you have to maintain those things pretty heavily, and of course Fort Worth has a big problem with oak wilt. But they're always trimming those trees, like every year they're trimming up some of them. So they don't have to come in and go after them, they do a little every year. Is that something y'all would do, or would you only do that if you had a contract for maintenance on a property?
As far as tree trimming goes, we could defer you to somebody, but we would like for us to have the maintenance contract before we do that.
That makes sense.
I mean, that's pretty much how it is.
It makes sense, just always like to make sure.
There's a property that we recently just sent a proposal out that it's currently pending. Is they have 1 million trees, and so I actually did 2 proposals with them. I did one that was just regarding trees, and then the other maintenance. So that way you can kind of see what the price is for that, and then what's all included. But that went into a bit more detail. So if that's something that you're wanting, we can do that as well. The tree trimming itself would be in the contract. But if you needed a proposal or what it would look like by itself for just trees, we can do that too, if that makes sense. But that would just go a little bit into more detail of what trees that are there, things like that. So that way we can take more good care of them.
And another thing is, on anything like that, come to Meredith, right? We can figure that answer out, and we can. It might be a job by job basis.
Sure.
I mean, it depends on. I mean, how many trees you talking? I mean, are we coming all the way out to Fort Worth for 3 or 4 live oaks, or are we doing it for
No, there's about
It's a lot of them.
35 trees.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's something
one
we
that's
always like
right,
to
which-
discuss.
Yeah, that's just something that if you reach out to us, and we'll be dead honest with you, and we'll let you know.
Yeah.
I mean, we're
Would
not
the
gonna
same thing
waste.
apply for like irrigation contracts? Because I know irrigators are.
We do not like to split irrigation and maintenance at all. That is something we do not like to do because there's way too much finger pointing and way too many problems. But if we have the whole thing, then the only one we can point at is us.
Makes sense.
But whenever we start doing the irrigation stuff and then a plant dies and somebody else is maintaining it, then it's immediately our fault.
Yeah.
And there's no way around it. We can prove you with those monthly checks that we have and let you know that nothing was wrong, but somehow or another, it's gonna get pointed back at us.
And it's, to me, and I know talking to board members, developers might be different in this situation, but to me, it's better when the irrigation is included in the maintenance.
100%.
So in that way, you kinda know who exactly to talk to and who to go to for it. Cause not everybody's perfect, maybe we run something over, a sprinkler head, or do something so we can go in and fix it. Because in that case, like what he said, it's gonna be just finger pointing.
Yeah, it is.
In our,
Oh, we totally get that.
yeah, so in our
Boards
maintenance.
don't always get it.
Yes, and our maintenance proposals are very easy to read because everything goes by line item, and we have something called below the line. So anything that you want additional that you're not sure if you want in the contract, which people normally do mulch or seasonal color. If you wanted the tree trimming, we could do something like that. If you wanted something extra with irrigation, we could do that as well. But in the contract, we normally have the irrigation maintenance or inspections once a month. If you wanted more or less, you could let us know, but that's the part that's in, excuse me, that's the part that's in the maintenance contract. And we normally have that for 12 visits for once a year. And like I said, if anything needs to be revised or changed number-wise, we can do that for you as well.
Good to know.
And then I know I reached out to y'all, it was probably like a year and a half ago now. How far north are y'all willing to go?
So, no, I will say this, no project
Meaning
has ever, yeah, no.
I've been told no for Sanger before, but they said it was a year and a half ago.
About
We might be able to
15
revisit that
miles
because
north of
we've
Denver.
got, we just did all of Denton West Park over
Okay.
there off of, and I'm pretty sure that, I mean, we have crews going there for at least the next 2 years.
Okay.
So I mean, what is that, an extra 15 minutes
Yeah.
maybe?
Yeah. So how, we have a map on our software that we use, so at first we started in the middle, and now we're gradually going like this, and so that's how we kinda calculate
Yeah.
everything. So since we just took over that property,
Party.
yeah, that party, we're just going like this, so
Okay.
anytime something's a little bit more out, we will do it, cause it keeps going. No project's ever too small or too big for us.
Oh, that was gonna be my question.
But
Yeah.
but there are times where we can't take on a project, but I'm very honest with you of why we can't. So I tell everybody, still send me things. We don't do front yards or backyards. What we can do, when I say that, a lot of people send me townhomes and condos. We can do townhomes and condos if it doesn't include the front yards.
Oh.
If it does, if there's common areas only, that we can do that.
Okay.
But we've had a lot of issues in the past with
Yeah, it's-
homeowners,
Mm-hmm.
and it gets pretty crazy. That's the main calls we're getting every day, and they don't realize that we have a million other projects we have on the table, not just their front yard.
Okay.
And so I know-
And it's like, there's like 3 weeds here and there.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
And
they,
they-
Absolutely
they
having
will
a heart
call
attack
you.
about
They
it.
will call you for those 3 weeks.
So
Yeah.
so in that, so we don't do. That's why we don't do apartments, condos, townhomes, things like that. But we have been asked questions like, "Hey, this is a townhome, but you wouldn't be doing front yards, just the common areas. Can you do that?" And we can do that.
Do y'all go out to like Hoffman and Crandall?
Ooh,
Is that over? Where's Crandall? Is that over by Forney? Yeah.
South of 40.
South
Yeah,
of
we've
Florida?
got-
I have
South
to see.
and
I have to
east.
see if we go over there because we do Forney area.
I know we've
And we
got
do
3 or
Glen
4
Heights.
projects there now.
Okay.
So
yeah.
and
So
Glen.
it might be
Forney's
within that
right
little
here.
So that's
like.
what, yeah, because
Yeah.
people are like, "What's Glen Heights?" And I'm like, "Exactly. It's you blink and it's gone." So it's if it's we're slowly growing because I'm so like Sanger I've never heard of, and then I'm like, "Where's all these places?"
Sanger's
So-
not that far.
Yeah, so all those places, just send it
It
to me,
seems
and
like
I can
it's
kind of
getting
look at
closer.
it.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't,
Yeah.
you know, that drive
kind of
from,
weird.
because we office out of Carrollton, that drive from Carrollton to Sanger,
I was-
it just keeps.
Yeah, I was making a run up to Wichita Falls
Yeah.
not long ago. It's only a 2-hour drive. That's no big deal. But I just for the fun of it, I hit the clock when I took off, and an hour drive from here going that direction puts you in Alvord, which is
That's about where I'm from. I'm from Bridgeport.
yeah.
So
It's like way up there. I mean, in an hour. I mean, you think about it. An hour in what we did with here is a blip of time.
Yeah.
So, but that distance was like, oh my,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
really far out here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's kind of crazy to try to
Spring
figure
down
out
here.
that property.
You're from
Yeah.
Springtown? All of my family is from Springtown, or
Oh, really?
Springtown Paradise.
You might be related. No.
Shay and Sean Clayton, Jacob Jennings, they're all from over there. Sean actually is the owner of SuperScapes, and he's from Springtown.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, he
Wow,
started
small world.
SuperScapes.
We've got a property in, the reason why she was asking about Kaufman, we have a property there that they are building like a 45-acre park.
Okay.
There's some common area, and all that for the community. It's gonna be 320 homes when it's done.
Okay.
But this park is there, and it's gonna be some sort of a thing between the association and the city. But the
Yeah.
city is expecting the association to maintain it.
Right.
Okay, so you
Okay.
need the proposal from us because y'all maintain it, but okay, I see what you're
So,
So
but
send
it's
that
also,
over to me
it's
whenever
a
you're ready.
big chunk of like
It's big.
Yeah.
mowers and stuff, and landscape and whatever. One thing that I would love to know, and this is just one of those things that goes in my head, is if there's a way, especially at a property like that, where we could drop a well. I don't know if you've ever done that.
Yeah. I did.
Drop a well for the
when I was
irrigation,
installing.
and then put solar panels on the roof of the well pump, so that we don't have to put an electric bill out there.
How's it set up?
Don't know, it's in my
Is
head
it
right now.
connected to the city meter?
No, right now, I know it's not
They
there.
haven't
It's
installed it.
Yeah,
We
it's
haven't
not
even
in
developed
there
the thing yet,
You want us to install it?
so we might.
That's,
Yeah,
that's
Are you talking
something
about
we can
installing
talk
the well, or is the landscape already existing right
Nothing's
now?
there.
So they haven't
This
put dirt
is,
yet.
this is all being
it's just
designed.
green space right now.
It's out of control green
Throw us
space.
in
Yeah.
on, throw us in on that,
Green
we'll
space.
GC it,
If you- yeah, if
you can
you-
throw us in on that, we'll GC it, we'll do the sidewalks, we'll do the site furnishings, I mean, that's what
Cool.
that's our whole commercial construction team is, and then we take over that.
The guy that's doing the landscaping for that property right now is a local guy that kinda knows everybody,
Okay,
so for them just mowing and putting in a few trees is no big deal.
That's great if you know.
I have a
everybody, but you
feeling
don't know
that
people.
this park is gonna be bigger than he can.
Yeah, I
Gotcha,
don't
okay.
think he's gonna,
Yeah, that's something, I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it before you put in a well. One is like, does the city wanna get involved? Cause whenever you start getting the city involved, cause if it's a city-owned park and an HOA park.
Yeah.
It just depends on what they
Gets a
want,
little
they might
sticky
wanna use their
sometimes.
city water.
Right, like I said, I'm just always in my head thinking about ways. of
No, but yeah,
cutting
that's
expenses.
definitely
That's a good
something.
If I could set up a solar panel that would run my sprinkler system and not have an electric bill, and you drop a well, which there's no water
there's
bill,
no water bill.
this
Now,
is pretty
I
good for the
will-
HOA.
I will say this, I hate controllers that are ran off solar panels.
They're a hit and a miss.
Can't stand them.
Yeah.
I'm very much a, let's get
Give me
this,
some
let's
power.
get this powered in, let's get this hardwired in, and we're not gonna have any issues. Solar's just you're right, it's a hit and miss thing, and if you miss whenever it's the middle of August, you've got a problem.
Yep. No, I've seen it. We had a property that had a solar deal and nobody could work on it.
No.
Yeah, it's cause it's just, like you said, it's just a little small section and nobody thinks about it. But anyways, you guys were gonna talk to us about some plants, I think?
Yeah, so we have a little bit, so let me grab my phone. Unfortunately, like I said, Dustin couldn't be here today, so he put together, I'm sorry, you can't really see this, a small PowerPoint of what plants that people used to plant in HOAs and why they don't anymore. And it shows you a picture of before and after. So I'm gonna send that to you guys.
Wax
So
myrtles. Indian
Let's see.
hawthorns.
Japanese
He loves
boxwood.
Indian hawthorns.
Hawthorns are drought tolerant, but they didn't do well during the
They're
freeze.
doing terrible now.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, because that was the most, up until probably
23 years.
Yeah. It was the most hardy plant shrub you could put in. I mean, you couldn't mess them up. If my mother had them in her house and she couldn't mess them up, nobody else.
So we have wax myrtles, Japanese boxwoods that are
Are
not
bad?
Bad.
bad, yeah,
okay.
that are, but not the winter grains. Indian hawthorns, rosemary,
That makes sense.
knockout roses,
Yeah, they've got that. I forgot what the name is of that disease.
Rose rosette disease.
Uh,
It's called rose rosette disease.
is that what it is?
Yes,
And then,
and you can't get rid of it.
Well,
Or
according
almost
to
impossible.
Mr. Garrett, with the dirt doctor guy, he says he's got a treatment for it, that'll get rid of it.
yeah, I'll believe that when I see it.
Yeah, I believe.
Lorpellum.
I love
just-
lorpellums.
Well, just your standard lorpellum, your Chinese French flower pretty much looks the same. I mean, it's, it is what it is. But the purple diamond, I think, is still okay.
And then that's the one.
Pittosporum.
And we
That's
also,
that's a plant people like to use a lot.
Yeah, and that one's really going down on all of our properties. I mean, the last freeze really did a number on those, and it's getting hard to get them planted and come up to where you can hedge them and stuff like that. They're just staying, basically after you plant them, they're not growing the way they should, and it's just a slow developing thing now that we're.
Well, during the freeze, I noticed the lorpellums at my house did well. but Indian hawthorn's nowhere.
Mm-mm.
What caused that? Any idea?
I have no clue. I don't think anybody knows the answer to that question, but it's
That's the number one thing everybody has to get rid
here's the
of.
thing, is it's 75% they're dead or they're absolutely perfect. There's no telling
Always right
why.
next to each other.
Yeah, and they're right next to each other. And
Yes.
there's no telling why. I could not answer that question. I think that everybody's trying to figure it out, and I don't know what the answer is to it.
And in my opinion, when to make them grow takes about 2 to 3 years. You have to cut them down; they look dead anyways, and that's when a lot of people complain about them. So it's kind of like a lose situation in that because they don't look pretty once you're waiting for them to grow back. So fortunately, Dustin would always go into detail about these and what to replace with those. But I'm gonna have him send me that, and I'll send those to you guys. All of our landscape designers and a lot of majority of people in SuperScapes actually went to school for horticultural, and so they are very intelligent and know their knowledge and know what they're talking about when it comes to planting. They could do your actual house, so if you ever need your front or backyard, we can do that. But of course, we also do new designs all around HOAs or commercial properties. The software that Dustin uses is actually really cool. So
It's crazy.
if, let's say this table was a big bed area, he would get his computer, iPad, and he would scan the whole bed area, and whatever you wanted to plant there, whether we could give you a cheaper price or a little more expensive, he actually shows you a video rendering proof of exactly what it would look like when it was done, but it's actually fake. And there's actually birds chirping in it and flying around. So I'm like,
Yeah,
how does
it
this
looks
work?
really
It's really
cool.
weird. So I was just like, and I've gotten mistaken before almost posting it on our social media site, and they were like, no, man, that's not real. And I was like, looks real to me. So
I thought this was a great flag.
and I thought it was great. And so they were like, no, it's not. But that way you can show either the homeowners or whoever you're speaking to, like, this is what it would look like, but this is how much it would be. And because nowadays people always get this those graphic, it looks like a cartoon and the dots and how many is what, but you can't really know what it's going to look like once it's done and planted. So that's something that he could show to you guys and be like, this is what it would look like once it's planted, once it's grown, and how pretty it would look. He also sometimes goes over what to plant and what not to plant for bunnies. Had a lot of people call me about what can we do about the bunny situation.
Dwarfio ponds.
So anything that's
Get them
prickly is
alive.
always really good because they don't want to touch that. Things that taste bad or smell bad. So we have another PowerPoint for that as well that I could send to you guys. So in that way, because we'd have like, what is it, pansies or lilies that bunnies would just love to go after. And so we had a lot of
They'll go after it.
majority. And so we can tell you
Don't
guys
get
what
it.
to
The
plant
only
and not
thing
to
I've
plant.
not
So
seen
that
them
way
eat
it's
is
there.
jasmine.
Yeah, they don't need
I
jasmine.
think jasmine. So that's always two of our biggest problems there.
And they stay away from Russian sage, which is
Really?
yeah.
What about Dusty Miller?
Probably.
It's one of
I
those
bet they
weird
eat it.
plants.
I bet they eat it.
I feel like they would eat that. If
Yeah.
it to me, it's funny when you see the pictures of what the plants look like. If it looks scary or bad, that's probably what they're not going to go after. If it looks beautiful and yummy and fun, it's probably exactly what they're going to go after. That's majority of the photos
Questions
that I
like
saw.
that become very important in places like Sanger,
Yeah.
where
Yes.
they still have coyotes in people's backyards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I'm about to say there was a bajillion bunnies at Barrington Court the other day.
really,
They need more
Yes.
coyotes.
yeah.
No.
Well, it's in Valley Ranch, so I'm not sure they're real keen on bringing in coyotes.
Right.
But-
So that's and he's been with SuperScapes for a very, very long time, and he went to school with that. Like I said, we're growing our team. He just hired 3 new landscape designers. We just hired Trey onto our team, and now we might be hiring another BD. So then that way we can get as much done as possible, and that way everything on time to you guys. So he's slowly growing his team, and it's great. So if you're ever needing new landscape designs, you don't have to, if you need maintenance and landscape design, we can always meet both of you guys out on the property at the same time, so that way we can knock out 2 birds with 1 stone. And we can be there to answer all your questions.
So
together.
what are the hot plants to go in this time of the year?
Right now,
Yeah.
I mean, you can really put anything in. I mean,
Okay.
seasonal colors coming up, but right now you can put anything in. It'll be fine, whatever you want,
Fine.
really.
I'm asking this because I'm having an argument with one of my board members,
About
and they're like, "Well, you're coming into June. It's too late to plant anything.
No.
We're gonna have to wait till fall." I'm like,
No.
No.
"Throw enough water on it. You should be
No.
okay."
you talking trees or you talking shrubs?
Like shrubs, like
Like
you know,
bad
little
maintenance?
petalums
No,
or
you
Put that in
boxwoods, or
anytime.
that's
If you,
what I think.
this is something this is a hill I'm 100% ready to die on from what I've noticed. It doesn't matter what time of year you plant something, if it is planted correctly and in the right manner with the correct amount of water, it does not matter. plants stay alive all the time. I mean, it's
Yeah.
part of it. If you muck in a tree the right way, well, then it's gonna be a good tree. You don't even need tree stakes if you do it the correct way.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think has been passed along from our owner, Sean, whenever he started doing this stuff, to everybody else is we do things the correct way. If you do things the correct way, you don't have to come back and replace it. So as far as you're concerned with that, I 100% would say it does not matter.
And that's
Now,
something
there's
to
times
bring
where
us
it's
into for.
Better. But
Sure.
right now you're fine.
Yeah.
It hasn't been hot.
And that's something like I was talking about, if you ever want us to come in and be like, hey, let's have the landscapers talk and just put on the agenda for 10 to 15 minutes, answer all their questions, we can give them more insight about that. So that way you're not having to argue with them and being like, this is why, this is what, I mean, cause we don't like to plant things obviously in the winter, but
Yeah.
that's, I mean,
I do.
but can we? We can. So it's, but it's just one of those things.
Apparently February is the only time you can't plant. 'Cause that's when we've had
That's,
the last
well,
two
that's when the
freezes.
snow, yeah,
That's
that's
when
when
we've
the
had the
ice
last two
is
freezes.
snow. Ice,
Yeah.
yeah. But,
I'd hate
yeah.
to put something in the ground and a week later it dropped down to like 5 degrees.
And we always get fully prepared for
happens.
that as well, for when all that starts happening, cause like you said, the last 2 years, it's been February, hasn't been any other time.
Yeah.
So, we fully get prepared for all that, we let everybody know, we send out a bunch of reports as well, monthly as well as weekly, however you want it as a manager, like I said about our communication, so any reports that you guys are wanting, we always send those out. Whatever account manager you have, that's who you would report to send all the reports to you. He can either meet with you once a week, once a month, however you'd want it. Then not just his report, but you also get the irrigation maintenance report as well. So you get everything on there.
Awesome.
Y'all have erosion control on here?
Mhm.
Do y'all do like erosion repair when the control has already been lost?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
we do, like, you're talking like mass grading pretty much?
Mm-hmm.
Is that in-house or do you sub that out?
Man, it depends. How big is it? Once again, I mean, if it's really big, we'll do it. If it's not, we have people that, we can get a guy, we got some, I mean, all it is just one labor, skid steer is really all it is.
Mhm.
It's not nothing that
It's a big
crazy.
area.
But as far as like that, being silt fence, carlag, stuff like that, we do all of that. That's all in-house, and mass grading, we usually do in-house.
Yeah.
Did y'all have any other questions for us that you could possibly think of?
Oh, I do, but I'm gonna give them a chance. So you mentioned irrigation. What are y'all's thoughts about smart controllers?
Love
Good, bad?
Great,
Okay.
awesome, incredible, love them.
We've actually
Which
been
brand do you
switching a
like
lot of
best?
things.
Weathermatic.
Okay.
We've been switching a lot of our properties over to that if they don't have them. And I think, what was it, McKinney that just recently the city raised up their prices or something like that? Not sure if you guys have any
Yeah, there's
properties
some.
over there, but we've been having a lot of people switch over to the technology that we want them to have, 'cause it's better.
Yeah, we use that Weathermatic. We used to be just Rainbird and Hunter like everybody else, but this Weathermatic stuff it's been great. The
Yeah.
actual way that it works off of your phone is like test your stations while you're out there and stuff. It's so much easier than
Yeah, I had a property in Frisco that put in a HydroWise.
okay.
Interesting thing about it is it gave us a read on the pressure
Yeah.
that was on the lines.
So is our
And come to find out through that system, the reason why we're having so many lateral line breaks is we were pushing too much pressure
Yeah.
through the lines. They were just popping the lines. We lowered the pressure and we put a regulator on it and it stopped the line leaks. We saved $20,000 worth
was
of
it
water
solved
in 1
correctly?
year.
Like with all the RPZs and stuff?
Who's to say?
Probably not.
It was
Sounds
done by a
like-
declarant before I ever got there, so
Probably not. Probably
Yeah.
probably skipped a few RPZs, saved a couple grand. What
Probably.
they did.
but yeah. So what does it take to retro something like that, to go in with a smart controller versus getting rid of the old Yardbird or whatever's out there?
It's not too terribly crazy. I mean, it's just the fact of installing it and then replacing all the solenoids is really.
So you have to replace the solenoids with it?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not really sure how that works with as far as our pricing goes. Whenever we take something over, we decide that that's what we would like to put in.
Mhm.
It might not necessarily be a you thing. I cannot answer that. I do not know.
If it decreases your calls, then you may look at that as well. I get it. I totally
Yeah,
get it.
because I mean, we can make money off of that as well, just by the way that if it's running extremely efficient, then we don't have to come back and repair stuff, which can it's money out of our pocket and a waste of our time.
Sure. So from a maintenance perspective, when we're doing, we say we we're working up a contract. You mentioned the irrigation checks once a month. How often do you trim the bushes?
That's also worked into every contract.
So
I
how,
would say almost.
it depends on
almost monthly. It
that,
depends on whatever
it's
you're getting
definitely
charged for.
monthly, but it also depends on how many number of visits you want us out there for the
Okay.
maintenance regardless. So we have people that want it for
36,
36 or
42.
38, we have 40, 42, so that just
Well, that was
depends
the
on the
next
scope.
question.
Yeah, that just depends on the scope of work that you send to us. Sometimes if it's too low, we will recommend to you, hey, this probably, but it's up to you. I don't know what the budget might be. We will ask you to either should we best to raise the number. Sometimes it's really high. I'll be like, are you sure? Normally this is, and if you're like, nope, that's what the board wants, what we always do, that's fine too.
So
So-
36 to 38 mows, or are you more like a 44 to 46 type?
I'd say 36 is about as standard as you're gonna see, especially for commercial buildings. HOAs differ. I mean, they
I've
can
seen
go up. I mean,
42.
yeah, I mean, you can
I've
get,
seen
There's
44.
some
But they
other
would do
crazy.
that unless they put in rye, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I
Or
mean,
the
there's,
chemicals.
but then again, like Stonebriar HOA, like these big HOAs like that, they don't care. They want somebody there all the time.
Mhm.
I mean, that's just what they
Even
want.
if you're just mowing air.
So it just depends
Yeah,
on the
I
scope
mean,
of work
and
that you
we,
send
and we'll
us.
tell them, we're like, we're here way too much. We don't care. Because if they don't see you, then we get yelled at. It's like, well, then, I mean, that's your prerogative. Then your good point.
So I would say anywhere between, like what you were asking, how many visits, anywhere between 36 to 40 is the normal average. But sometimes, like I said, people go over and they want that 42. And that's okay. It just depends on what you're wanting.
I had one property that they decided to do rye every year in the winter. They had 50 mows.
Oh my gosh, I have not seen 50 yet.
50
I've been here
mows.
for 3 years.
And I was like,
haven't seen
that's
50.
that's too much. And
That's
they're
way
like,
too much.
They're like, no, we want to. It's like, I think it was more of that.
They want to
If,
see
if
it.
you're not here, then you're really not a contract. So.
Wow.
That's exactly right. That's
That's so
what
much
some
more
people
money.
think.
Though. And I'm like, okay. I'm like,
Yeah,
sometimes
I
you
mean,
just
if
tell
you
them,
want
okay.
50 mows,
Yeah, we'll do
please.
it. We'll do
By all
it
means.
for
Figure
you.
it out, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Happily
So,
mow your hair.
what is the from changing out seasonal color? How often do you guys typically do that?
twice.
Okay.
twice a year. Lately I have been getting 3, but that just depends again on your scope of work of what you guys are wanting, or the board or the developer. With the freezes, we've had a ton of people recently been like, let's do 3 this coming up year, and then we changed that. We add that in there, but normally it's 2.
What I've been doing is adding it like a below the line cost, like we were talking about, is on an as needed basis. And if you want it twice, come do it twice. But here's your number for every time we come out and do it. If
That's
you want to
good.
do it 20 times, and we'll come out and do it 20 times.
I like that.
I have a question about your
Go.
erosion control services.
Mhm.
For example, if the neighborhood has a creek running behind it,
Mhm.
and some, it's the erosion is an issue. I mean, do you guys have any?
It's gonna look ugly.
Oh,
I mean, unless you want to do rock, or honestly, the best thing for erosion control that I've found out, best looking way,
Mhm.
hydromulch.
okay, I see.
I mean, outside of putting down, having to stare at Curlex or a silt fence,
Mhm.
I mean, just one of the best things out of rock, diverted. But
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
what were you thinking?
Oh, I was thinking rock, cause the
Yeah, you can do
rocks
rock.
with the, okay.
Rocks just get expensive.
That's expensive.
Rock,
That's expensive.
river
Rocks
rock or
get-
rocks are
River rock.
super expensive their first payment, but in the long run it's cheaper. So
You don't mow
it
rocks.
just exactly. So it's just
And big
again
rocks
depends
don't
on your
float away.
budget and depends on what they're wanting, but it is very expensive to install it. But again, long term saves you money.
And
Okay.
how many boards do we have that think long term?
0.
Because of the cost, that's why.
I had one board I was able to convince on that one time. It was a pool situation, and we
rock
instead
around
of
the pool.
replastering it, we did a product called Diamond Tech,
Mhm.
and had a 25-year warranty on it.
Yeah.
We didn't have to touch it. Of course, you replaster every 10 to 12 years.
But it was expensive at first, but it probably saved them money in the long run.
Saved them
And
a ton.
Yeah, so
It's like a bed. Fill it up with rocks and yucca, man. It'll look good.
and we've had a ton of people change recently to ZeroScape, and that's him and I's actually.
That was going to be
favorite.
my next question. How
Yes.
much zero scaping do you guys see out there now?
So here,
And give us your definition of what zero scaping is, because different people think different things.
I look at ZeroScape with a lot of rock,
Okay.
a lot of rock DG.
that's the
Um,
main thing about zero safe is where he's going with this is irrigation. Is
Mhm.
do you have your drip? Do you have you don't have sprays anymore? Do you just run drip, or do you run bubblers like they're on a tree for each plant? Now that question I think is 100% up to whatever architect designs it, however they want it. My definition of xeriscape, and what I think of, is zero irrigation. That's my definition, but I mean, I guess there's different ways to go about that, but mine is rock, yuccas, feathergrass, and muleys.
Like I'm measuring a property right now, and pretty much their entire, it's huge, and they've xeriscaped majority of it. They have irrigation out there, but what they do is what he said, like have rock and dirt, but or just rock and the DG, but then they have like a yucca planted here and there, or something. It's just scattered out, but it looks really nice. It looks clean, looks really nice, looks like everything's in place, but not a ton of mulch is involved. But I know since there's a plant involved in here, there's got to be irrigation. But it's always something that's more like a cactus or like a yucca or something like that. So something I wouldn't say that needs a ton of water, but it looks really nice. So, but like he said, his version would be like no irrigation. But
Also, I hate drip tubes, so
yeah,
my arch
we both
nemesis
agree on
is
that.
drip tubing.
It's interesting because I heard that several cities were almost requiring it in higher end subdivisions, and they started having a lot of root rot on the grass because people were letting it drip too long.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the easiest thing to mess up, man, and it's always on top of the mulch.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about it short of coming back in, digging it down, and putting it underneath that. But at the end of the day, it's still going to pressure up, and it's still going to flip to the top.
Makes
There's
sense.
only so many solid staples you can put on top.
Okay, good deal. You guys have any questions? I think it's been very informative.
Good. I will make sure I send you guys those 2 PowerPoints, the one with the bunnies and the
Yeah.
pictures. I know you guys wrote them down, but I'm gonna send you all the pictures of the plants, because what Dustin did, he did a before picture of it looking beautiful and what they look like now. Anywhere you
So
plant them.
here's a question from a sales perspective: how do you turn the ship of people who want, boxwoods and hawthorns and knockout roses, and convince them to go with something else?
If
I
you
just-
don't,
Go ahead.
mine is, well, you don't want to listen to us, we'll keep putting them in, and we'll come back and replace them next year.
That's
And then we'll
where
charge you for them.
that's where are you talking? Let me put it this way: for you to convince somebody, or for us to convince somebody?
Maybe both.
Okay, because if I was in your shoes as being the property manager and talking to the boards or developer of this is a good idea, I would show them a picture right now of what it looked like, and if it looks terrible, this is what it should look like, and show them a picture of what it should, and be like, this is how long it's looked like this. You're going to spend more money on planting these. It's not going to be, you're just wasting all your money. If we're the ones talking and we could actually bring more informative information and then saying, this is what you should plant. You could ask us that question as well, and we could give you that information and tell you what to plant and give that information to them. And just that way they have a little more insight, because they're not in the landscaping business. They
Right.
just think they know and that's what we hear all the time. I still have to inform my family and friends. Are like, what do I plant in my house? I'm like, don't plant that. That's not gonna live. You're wasting your money. So, from a sales perspective, I would just show them the before and after. How much money it is, how much money you're spending now to keep it maintained. It's not gonna live. It's gonna die. Freezing could be an issue too. Talking about in February, like this is what's gonna happen. So.
Yeah, we have a different perspective. I tell them, sit down and write me a check for all those Indian hawthorns, and I'll say, now write it 3 more times and then hand it to me.
Yeah.
I mean,
And that's a good point. The problem you run into, and the reason why I asked the question is, let's face it, a lot of the folks that live in associations that are having these issues are older people, and they want what
their
they've
entire life has
What
they've
they
been
want,
looking
what
at
they've
an
had.
Indian hawthorn.
Yeah, I've always
and
had
a
literally
literally
the manicured, boxed out deals, and they don't understand that lower petals are supposed to be free flowing. And
No,
that
that's
Nandinas
exactly
don't,
correct. Thank you.
Nandinas don't get boxed.
Yeah.
No,
they don't get that.
And I
And
just-
so how do but by golly, every house is supposed to have boxwoods.
That and staring at a sunshine ligustrum that's this big
Yeah.
absolutely grinds me, man. Can't stand
So
it.
it's just one of those things where we would like to just talk in front of them and let them know, like, I mean, there's way more options nowadays of what can be planted. It's not the same as it was back then, and they just you have to let go of what you're used to and do something that's going to be more efficient for now. and what's gonna work, because what used to work then is not working now, which is the exact reason why Dustin made that PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Because it's all those things that you wrote down are so many common things that you see all the time.
Mhm.
But now everybody's getting rid of them. No one's using them anymore.
Sure, they've been planted that way for 70 years.
Yeah. And and that was a huge issue when the first freeze happened. Everybody said, I need you to come and get rid of these Indian hawthorns. I don't know how many calls I got. That was before you were
The
on.
entire
the
metro.
I mean, it was such like a,
How do you think I got installing 1,000
yeah,
of them a day?
and like you were talking about earlier, is this side would be alive, this would be dead, and they'd be like, what, and it'd be so hard to understand why that side is alive and this side's dead, and the irrigation's fine. So it's always a hit or miss, and we couldn't figure anything out, and that was very annoying. And we even we got with other landscapers too, to be like, do you know why? And no one knows. So
Another little tidbit about if anybody comes at you about why things are dead, find the closest window, and
I'm
that's
so sorry, John, can you take this phone call? It's fire dispatch for VSP.
No, somebody's alarm's going off.
Yeah.
They're up to test the
well, we were about done anyway. So
yeah, so. Well, thank you guys so much for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thank you.
Yes,
That was very
absolutely.
good.
Yeah.
So if y'all have any questions, I think you put our cards.
both
Our-
business cards.
Our
are
Yes,
business
I
cards
saw
are in your bags. I'm gonna give y'all Dustin's contact information too, real quick.
Okay.
His information is not in there, but his
Okay.
email is Dustin, DUSTIN, @superscapes.net, and his phone number.
is 214-799-7107.
And please feel free to either
What were the
email,
last
text.
digits?
What was the
Do
last?
7107.
7107.
Okay, thank you.
So y'all can text, call, email, doesn't matter. We have a separate work phone for everybody in the company that we use, so we have a ton of people that always text us, hey, I've got a question, figure something out, need to meet up for a meeting, we can do that.
Okay.
Yep.
So with any of us, so,
Well, thank you
yes,
so much.
you're very welcome,
We're
thank
about
y'all
as
for
easygoing
having
as
us.
they come, so.
Yes.
This was great.
So,